Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for clicking on this video today. If this is your first time here, please think about liking, commenting, and subscribing and sticking around. For those of you who are coming back, thank you so much for being on this journey with me. I really appreciate everything, and I adore that I get to be part of this adventure with you. So today I'm going to do something a little different. Well, not quite different. I'm just going to interrupt the flow of my channel a little bit and take a break for 1 week from the beginning Tara and talk about Game of Thrones. Now, I've done several other Game of Thrones videos on my platform, and of course, I got my Stark shirt on. I got my Game of Thrones tarot cards, and of course, I got my Mother of Dragon Turvis here, yo. So obviously, I like Game of Thrones. The reason I'm doing this video is going to be Arya Stark versus Daenerys Stormborn, Breaker of Chains, Mother of Dragons, Khaleesi of the Great Grassy, yada yada yada, Targaryen. The reason I'm doing this is line, one line out of the season that shall not be named. Well, season 8. When Arya Stark looks at her brother Jon and says, I know a killer when I see one. Like you any better. Okay, here's my thing. I'm going to talk a little bit about Arya, and I'm going to talk a little bit about Dany, and we're going to compare. So, Arya Stark grew up in a castle as one of the children of Ned and Catelyn Stark, meaning that she had quite a privileged upbringing. She had brothers and sisters, she had food on the table, she had entertainment, and she even had a pet, Nymeria. Now, life got complicated for Arya, and she found that being a girl in a time like this was very difficult. She wanted to be able to be the warrior. She wanted to be a knight. She learned how to dance, which meant she learned how to fight with a sword, and she had to adapt to some very serious things that happened into her life. Unfortunately, after her dad became Hand of the King, she saw terrible things happen to her father, including being beheaded. After that happened, her life was over as Arya Stark. She ran. She was hidden. She was given different identities. She went by different identities, but every night she went to bed with this list on her mind. This list of terrible people that she wanted to kill in order to get revenge for all of the horrible things that happened into her life. Nobody is going to say that Arya Stark's story was pleasant. She had a lot of horrific things happen to her. She adjusted, and there were times that she had to kill in order to survive. She became a commodity at one point when the Hound had her. Not only did she learn a great deal from the Hound, but she also learned how to kill. Arya eventually ended up in the House of Black and White, which she tried to become a trained assassin of the Faceless Men. That didn't work out too well in the story, but let's talk about the Faceless Men. The Faceless Men is a group of people that was created by a person who was a slave back in the days of Valyria, who would beg for death every day. Their servitude was so horrific that he'd rather die than serve another day. And one day, a god answered that request, thus starting the Faceless Men. The Faceless Men have no religion. They have every religion. They have every belief. But they are no one. They don't have an identity. They change faces. They are able to change their voices. They are anybody that can slip into a crowd, but they don't come without an astronomical price. See, they're not killing anymore for mercy to answer somebody's prayers. They're killing for profit. If somebody pays the right price, like they did with the actress in the series, then they'll kill. Just because another actress was jealous of her talents. It really went a long way from trying to delve out mercy to just flat out murder. Arya willingly trained. And in the books, she is still in her training phase, becoming no one. In the show, she peaced out and somehow was able to go back home and pick up a life, fight in the big war, and somehow kill the Night King. And then she got to go west of Westeros. So I'm still really confused how someone can just quit the Faceless Men, but that's another thing. So there's, Arya in a nutshell. Dany was born on an island as a recluse. She was born under a large storm with her mother, her brother, and a few people who helped them escape because House Targaryen was being butchered. This little baby already had a price on her head before she took her first breaths in this world. She never had a home to call her own. She bounced between place to place, hiding, homeless, and abused. She was sold to the Dothraki by her brother and learned how to be a Khaleesi. Eventually, she adapted to the lifestyle that she was in, just like Arya eventually adapted to the lifestyle she was in. Remember, Dany in the books was only 13. Arya was about 11. These two girls are not that different in age. Very young girls put into possible situations. Dany learned, eventually became the mother of the dragons. And while she did kill her husband, it was a mercy killing. She smothered him in his sleep because there was nothing left of him except a vegetated state. To her, that was mercy. To Khal Drogo, that was mercy. Dany set off for the next several years in impossible situations where she had to use her wits and people around her. Not using in a bad way, but to help them find food, to find shelter, and to find ways to get back to Westeros, which was her goal. In the meantime, Daenerys Stormborn of House Targaryen looked around and saw a world in chains. And soon she became the breaker of chains. She was able to free many different slaves, including the entire Unsullied army. They were given freedom and they could have walked away. She did a lot in Meereen, and while in the books, Meereen is still completely having some issues, in the story on the television show, she was able to at least leave it in hands to continue governing down a way that would be beneficial and have something in place to where people would not be going back into chains. Now, anything can happen. Dany did not have to get her hands dirty until the big war between the dead and the living. Now, She did ride on the back of Drogon. She did kill people. She killed people for a purpose. She didn't kill people for money. Both of these reasons are, questionable at best. But Dany was a conqueror. Dany was doing stuff for war. She did stuff for peace. And she did stuff to free other people who were enslaved. Sounds more like the goal of the Faceless Men in the original state than what it became to be. Dany eventually would arrive to Westeros, and instead of toasting the entire place with her dragons like she could have, she holds back. She doesn't want to be the Queen of Ashes. She helps with the War of the Undead, even helping save Jon and his friends' lives, risking her life to go into a trap that was basically the dragon pit scene in season 7, which we still talk about. And of course, Dany went mad and burned to King's Landing, which led to Arya saying to Jon, "I know a killer when I see one." Now, who's the killer? Both of them have taken lives. Both of them have done some very good things and some very questionable things. Up until that point, Dany had not really gone off her rocker and just murdered people. Everybody had a choice. Even the Tullys, she gave them choices. They weren't taken. She executed them like a ruler would. Arya was killing for an organization that had people paying them to kill. She was just as cold-blooded as Dany ever was. And the very fact that Arya murdered the entire Frey family, all of the male heirs, and anybody who got in her way, was just pure revenge. And while a lot of us applauded that, isn't it the same mindset that people were encouraging Arya's dark side? Isn't it a lot like what Tyrion said, that when he thought Dany was doing these great things and we were applauding her, she was still destructive? What about Arya? Look at all those people that she killed. She killed an entire family. And yes, she was getting revenge for her family. She killed anybody that got in her way. She killed the Frey's 2 boys. And not just killed them, but put them into a meat pie and fed them to their father. At least Dany just toasted people. That I understand is the story of the rat and yada, yada, yada. I get that, okay? But think of the mentality of a person that has to grind up 2 human beings and cook them in a pie and then serve them to their father. But she knows the killer when she sees one. I have a problem with people looking at Dany a different way than Arya. Arya was no hero. Arya was a killer. Arya killed for revenge. She killed for money. She killed for faith. Dany killed to free people. She killed for revenge. She killed for her own faith. Are these two women really that different at the end of the day? Just because Arya is a Stark and Dany is a Targaryen, that automatically makes Dany wrong and crazy? Just because Arya is a Stark makes her upstanding? No. And that's my problem. I don't defend anything that Dany did because I still don't think any of it is actually going to happen in the books. I mean, it might. But if they do, they'll actually have a story to go along with that in the books instead of that terrible season on HBO where they're trying to have us believe for a second that maybe that would happen. Just like that, with no context. And by the way, there's, time machines and stuff. But my thing is, people judge Dany so harshly, but look at Arya Stark and see a strong young woman. She went through a lot. She did. I would give her that all day long. And some of those kills she did was necessary for her to live. But what about the rest? What about the Arya Stark that decided to grind up humans and put them in a pie? The amount of work that had to go into that. What did she do to the chefs and the other people in the kitchen to keep them away? She didn't pay them off. She didn't have any money. Would she have killed? I wouldn't put anything past her. She could take face to face. If she needed a face, she could kill a person. Arya wasn't innocent. Neither was Dany. But I don't like all of the Dany bashing. Yes, I'm a Dany fan. But just remember, Arya as a killer. Because I know a killer when I see one. What is your opinion about that? Is Arya Stark justified in everything that she did? Is Dany justified in everything that she did? Was Arya disgusted with Dany because she saw a lot of herself in her? Or was it something completely different? Leave your comments down in the section below. I would love to talk to you guys about that. In the meantime, I know I'm wearing some of the same stuff I did before. I'm doing a lot of videos in a row. So shout out to Melissa Blue Delish. I bought my earrings and my lovely fairy necklace from her. Also got my Stark shirt. And I will leave links on how to get the Game of Thrones tarot cards. So until next time, every single day is a gift. Use your time wisely. I will see you guys later.